Oda has now hinted 3 times that the next arc is Elbaf. The first time Vegapunk implies that Jaguar D. Sao survived Ohara after saving the books with the Elbaf giants. And then it's revealed that Elbaf is Shanks' territory as he fodderizes Eustace L. Mid. And the third time was in chapter 1090 where Usopp and Luffy start singing their "We're Heading to Elbaf" song as the Straw Hat Pirates plan their escape. And just like Luffy and Usopp, I'm so excited for Elbaf. So today we're looking at my 20 predictions and hopes for the Elbaf arc. We'll start off with Luffy fighting Shanks, and at the end of the video I'll reveal why Elbaf will be truly Usopp's arc to shine. We must see Luffy versus Shanks. Now that we know for sure Shanks will be involved in the Elbaf arc, it's now a non-negotiable. Ever since Luffy met Shanks, he's looked up to him as a powerful pirate. And the entire meaning of Shanks leaving Luffy his hat was to symbolize that he believed in Luffy to become a legendary pirate one day, as Luffy would one day return it to him in the new world once they met. And to showcase Luffy coming this far, we all can't wait to see a fun yet intense hockey clash splitting the skies. Hockey god Shanks versus sun god Nika. And speaking of Luffy returning the hat, I predict that Luffy won't return the Straw Hat. Or more specifically, Shanks will refuse it once Luffy offers it back to him. But before I explain why, make sure you subscribe for future videos like this. I'm still working on a massive Wano review and it's about 80 pages deep at this point, but trust me, it's gonna be an amazing video, so hit that bell like Luffy and Skypiea so you don't miss out when we drop it. So why will Shanks refuse Luffy's hat once they finally meet? You see, Luffy's Straw Hat has been passed down for generations, and Shanks realizes that Luffy is the man Roger was waiting for. Even Rayleigh says that Luffy is even more worthy of that hat than Goldie Roger, his own captain who was the Pirate King. So I think that Shanks will say something almost exactly like Rayleigh. You become a pirate even more worthy of that hat than me and my captain, so keep it. Plus Luffy symbolically embodies the Straw Hat better than anyone else. He's Joyboy, his epithet is literally Straw Hat Luffy, or Mugiwara no Luffy, and his crew in Jolly Roger is the Straw Hat Pirates. And I just can't even picture a world where Luffy roams the seas without his iconic hat. But let's say I am wrong and Luffy does give the hat back to Shanks. I think symbolically it still makes sense and be really cool, since straw hats are actually used by farmers to block out the sun while they work on the fields. And so Luffy returning the hat and allowing the sun to shine on him could represent Luffy accepting his role as the sun god Nika. Luffy will fight Elbaf giants in both his giant and chibi forms. I think Luffy fighting giants in Elbaf has the potential to be some of the most fun, hilarious, and goofy fighting that we've ever seen in One Piece, especially if it's in Gear 5. I predict that we'll see Luffy get jealous of their strength and flex his new power, trolling the giants growing even bigger than them. But what I think is the best possibility is actually the opposite. We've already seen Luffy become a giant in Elbaf, and I can't wait to see Luffy go into his chibi form while fighting the giants. I mean, think about how ridiculous this could be. He'd be impossible to target and grab. He'd be so small compared to these Elbaf warriors. It'd be like swatting a ridiculously fast fly, and with a small size, Luffy in Gear 5 would still pack a massive punch. We've already seen Luffy grow, so we can assume the most ridiculous power can also help him shrink and become smaller through the power of rubber. Plus, we already know this is possible because of Luffy's chibi form that he would revert to in Gear 2 during his fights with CP9 and Enies Lobby. But this time though, I think it'd be so funny seeing him intentionally use it for his own fun and advantage as he makes us laugh with this cute little Gear 5 chibi form. Wow, just think of the merge possibilities, Oda. We're going to learn important information about the sun god Nika in Elbaf, and I believe this is for 2 big reasons. First, the giants themselves. We've seen the Elbaf giants sail the seas with the sun symbols on their ships, and Mother Carmel and the giants praised the sun god during Big Mom's flashback. So there could be a substantial amount of lore and history that we learn about Joyboy and the sun god Nika through their legends and tales. After all, Elbaf is fable spelled backwards, so this tale of the sun god Nika or Joyboy may be a legend in their culture that's seen as a fable. But the other reason why I believe that we'll learn more about sun god Nika and Joyboy is because of Shanks. We know Shanks is the one who stole the Nika fruit from the world government. Why did he never tell Luffy about the true nature of the fruit? What secrets does Shanks know about the importance of Nika? Shanks and the Red Hair Pirates may have learned some of these secrets from Elbaf, but regardless of the reason why, we could learn so much valuable history about the fruit through the Red Hair Pirates who may be experts on the topic. So we already talked about Luffy versus Shanks, but there's a few more Straw Hat and Red Hair Pirate matchups that I'd love to see. Of course, Zoro and Ben Beckman, 2 quintessential right-hand man first mates, and this would be a legendary meeting of 2 similarly badass straight man type of characters. And next is Lucky Roo versus Sanji. These 2 could get along quite well, with Lucky Roo often being seen as a fat pirate who's always ready to eat. And of course, Sanji is a top tier cook. Plus, I'd love to see who's truly faster, as Lucky Roo is speculated to be incredibly fast just like Sanji. And then there's the father-son dynamic of Yasopp and Usopp. It would be incredible to see the greatest sniper Yasopp put on a show and embarrass Usopp Usopp, who's probably nowhere near his skill. And my favorite interaction and matchup that I love to see is two animals of their Yonko crews, Tony Chopper the reindeer versus Monster the monkey. And just hearing those two back to back, these two boys have some of the hardest names in One Piece. And I think it'd also be pretty funny if Monster was actually incredibly powerful in contrast to Chopper being a weak doctor. Nico Robin will reunite with Jaguar D. Sao. It was implied that Sao survived the Ohara incident and may be hiding at Elbaf as he helped the Elbaf Giants restore the Ohara library by moving the books that Robin's mother and the other archaeologists died saving. This would honestly be such an emotional moment, as Robin now has found a crew member of pirates that she can call her friends, and that was always what Sao wished for her. And since Robin believed that he was dead all this time until now, it would make their reunion all the more heartwarming. I'm just so happy for Robin, who's now ready to read all the books of the Library of Ohara and learn what Professor Clover once discovered about the Ancient Kingdom, which might mean we learn the name of the Ancient Kingdom in Elbaf if Robin can put the same puzzle pieces together. Uroge will be in Elbaf, but before I explain that, if you enjoyed the video so far, make sure that you leave a like. It really helps us out, and let's aim for 2,000 likes, because if we reach this goal, I'll let you guys pick the next video we do in a poll. Oda has saved the Mad Monk for the Elbaf arc, and you know what they say, right? Save the best for last. I believe that he has big plans for this character. For example, maybe Uroge is a Joyboy worshipper, as someone who's religious and known for praying and known for his crazy smile. I also believe that Uroge fits perfectly in this warrior land of Elbaf, as I predict Uroge could be an insanely powerful supernova. And I get a lot of heat for this, but I put him honestly in the same tier as Zoro and Law. If we think about Uroge's devil fruit, this convinces me that he will be present in Elbaf, because Uroge's power is that the more physical damage he receives, the bigger and more powerful his body and muscles become. So my theory is that Uroge's awakening is the ability to essentially become the Whole, an uncontrollable violent muscle man who can grow to the size of an Elbaf giant. I know Chopper already had something similar with the monster mode, but I feel like someone like Uroge could put better use of this type of power up. And I also think that the perfect fight for Uroge and Elbaf could be Kid, not only because Kid has absolutely zero shot of ever defeating Shanks in a one-on-one fight, but also because if Kid doesn't drown by the time Luffy arrives at Elbaf, he needs someone to fight. And who better than another supernova who's always been a step ahead of him? At Whole Cake Island, we found out Uroge had the best showing of all the supernova who invaded Big Mom, and back in Sabaody, Uroge was the strongest supernova, even above Kid, who had a higher bounty. And so going off what I mentioned for Uroge's awakening to become a giant Hulk-like creature, Kid should potentially be able to become some kind of iron giant fitting the Elbaf giant theme. But even giving Kid this easier matchup to look cool, I'd still give Uroge the win, because you know, it's Kid at the end of the day. With Dory and Brogy finally returning to Elbaf, I wonder if they brought along some dinosaurs with them as pets to Elbaf. I just want to see more giant dinos running around through Elbaf, and possibly some other giant creatures like some mythical beasts, so Sanji and Zoro can have their long-awaited hunting rematch. One absolutely must-see from Elbaf is an extremely powerful Elbaf giant. I'm stealing this one from Wizard of Oars because for a while now he's been telling me how he wants to see some of those olden equivalents to the Elbaf giants, some Chadley, near Yonko, and even possibly Yonko level warriors. Also just some ancient warriors like Garp who are like 400 years old here, but they were legends in their prime. Elbaf is notorious for its might and power. It's feared for its culture of warriors, so it would be a huge disappointment if there wasn't any impressive Elbaf warriors that show out during this arc. We will get lore on the ancient giants as well, the Oni race, and specifically the Oars clan in Elbaf. The Elbaf giants might be able to give us some clues of the legendary beasts of the Oars race, because the Oars clan may not be typical Elbaf giants, but I wonder if they were once allies in the past back to the days of the Ancient Kingdom. They're very mysterious, and what happened to their race? How and why did they go extinct? And if there was ever a time to learn more about them, it would be during Elbaf. And I actually made an entire video on the history of the Oni race, so I'll leave a link to that video in the description. Vivi will join the Straw Hats in Elbaf. We're all ready for Vivi to join the Straw Hat crew, because she's essentially already a Straw Hat, and once they meet up again, it'll be time for her to become an official member. And with all the Vivi, Cobra, and Emu stuff going on, Elbaf is actually the perfect place for Vivi to join the crew, as Little Garden was the first time that we saw Vivi go on an adventure with Luffy at their Whiskey Peak. Dory and Brogy seem to love Luffy and Vivi, and now knowing that she's a D member, maybe there's something worth exploring here. But how will Vivi arrive at Elbaf? Well, my theory is that Stussy helped Morgan tap into the Godosei's conversation with Luffy, as we know that Stussy and Morgans have helped each other out in the past. So maybe Stussy will also relay information to Morgans to meet up at Elbaf and drop off Vivi, who Emu is now searching for. Now in the protection of her friends and a Yonko crew, this gets me most excited because the arc after Elbaf could be the invasion of Marijoa once Luffy finds out what happened with Cobra and Sabo. Ben Ben Beckman will show off his unstoppable haki. I need some Ben Beckman feats, man. I believe Ben Beckman is a master of all forms of haki, and I think seeing him unleash a powerful conqueror's haki versus Zoro or Luffy, or even against an enemy like the world government or Blackbeard would just be so badass. It's implied Ben Beckman ripped off Kid's arm like a Viking. He's a savage man, or maybe he just shot it off with haki bullets. But either way, this guy's gonna be an absolute monster, and I need him to become a confirmed conqueror haki user once we reach Elbaf. Especially because he's the right-hand man to the haki god Shanks, and their entire crew don't have devil fruits, but there's still fear throughout the entire new world like no other crew. Oda once said that Ben Beckman was the moon to Shanks' sun, and that they were comparable in strength. Plus, Ben Beckman could actually be a genius when it comes to war tactics, strategy, and overall fighting IQ, because Oda has also pointed out that he is the smartest character introduced in the East Blue Saga, showing us that Shanks might be the raw power, but Ben might be the brains behind the entire Red Hair Pirates operation. Luffy will reunite with his Grand Fleet at Elbaf. First, we know Luffy's Grand Fleet is growing the new Elbaf Warriors crew. I'd love to see Hajruden's progress, and what a better place to add new giants to Luffy's Grand Fleet than Elbaf. Plus, similar to Chibi Luffy, it'd be hilarious to see Leo and the Tontatas get along with the Elbaf Warriors. And is this Princess Pururu from Shanks' crew a Tontata? She does look like one. And the biggest reason that I think that the Grand Fleet will be at Elbaf is because Barto is a menace, man. He's the one who's been terrorizing Shanks' territories, burning down the Red Hair Pirate flags, and putting Luffy's Straw Hat Jolly Roger up in those areas. And so there's already the setup for Luffy and Shanks to fight, and it could all start because of how insane Barto is, picking a war with a Yonko in the most disrespectful and bold way possible. It'd also be kind of funny if Luffy shows up to Elbaf and the first thing that we see is Barto being captured and shamed by the Red Hair Pirates. Elbaf is the perfect arc for Frankie to get another power up and go full Gundam. With General Frankie, we kind of already saw this, but I'm talking full-on Gundam, much bigger, less robotic. We want some wings, and I want a 1v1 battle between Gundam Frankie and a giant, because this would be so much fun. Elbaf will be a giant arc, pun intended. For years now, many people have speculated it would be a shorter Zoe-like setup lore arc, but on this channel, you know that myself and Wizard of Oars have always said that Elbaf will be massive. And no, not just because there's giants around us, so it'd be fitting for it to be a giant arc, but the main reason is because Elbaf is located in Warland, implying that there be a massive Ragnarok-inspired war in Elbaf, referencing the Nordic theme. Plus, let's not forget that Shanks shares many similarities and inspirations from the god of war here in Norse religion. If you think about it, the world government has already declared war on a Yonko crew and Egghead, attacking Luffy with the full force of an admiral, thousands of marines, and a Gorosei. So now there's no turning back for the world government. And I just can't see Elbaf, a place that's known for fighting and warriors, to be a short arc, because there's potential for many incredible fights, and now that we know for sure this is going to be the Shanks arc, there's just no way it'll be a quick one after waiting for 25 years for him to reunite with Luffy. And Oda knows as fans we just want to see Shanks go crazy. In fact, I could even see Elbaf being as big as Dressrosa or even Wano, an arc that could last 3 to 4 years. If I'm wrong, I'll take the L here, but the amount of hype being placed in this arc has been decades long, because everyone wants to spend time here, everyone wants to enjoy the fun goofy pirate vibes, hanging around with the giants, and the last thing I'd want is for it to be rushed. So another way that Elbaf could become a massive arc is with a full-on Yonko battle royale or Davy Beck fight. Ever since Oda brought up the words battle royale, in the final saga we've been speculating that Elbaf may be the place to have a full-on battle royale tournament arc. Oda's never done a legitimate tournament arc. He's tried with the Coliseum and Dressrosa, but that just flopped in my eyes. Sure, it was fun, but it had potential to be so much better and was disappointing in a wasted opportunity. Getting some kind of 1v1 randomizer like a Dragon Ball Z tournament would be so fun and perfect for the Elbaf warrior culture. Or what about a full-scale battle royale like in Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power arc? We know that Oda is inspired by Dragon Ball, and the tournament arc is one of my favorite tropes in anime. And if we're getting even crazier, what if Elbaf brought back One Piece's most forgotten pirate game, the Davy Beck fight? I've seen theories that we could eventually see a 4-way Davy Beck fight between the 4 Yonkos: Luffy, Shanks, Blackbeard, and Buggy. Buggy and Shanks both seem like they'd have fun with this. We know Blackbeard would be interested because he's as piratey as it gets, and Hachinosu has its history for being where Davy Beck fights originated from. And then of course Luffy, you know he's down. And maybe we'd even see a return of Afro Luffy in Gear 5. I mean, that would be insane. If Oda wants to go full on hype mode, he could do some crazy matchups. I mean, some of the most anticipated fights, like a rematch between Shanks and Mihawk, a godly clash between Buggy and Usopp, and of course the fight that everyone would want to see more than anything would be Zoro versus Sanji. I've been praying every night that Oda brings us Zoro versus Sanji one day, and maybe with a battle royale randomizer, we'd actually get to see it. Elbaf will be Usopp's arc, and this is something that I'm tired of hearing from Usopp defenders, but as as cringe and annoying as it can be, I hate to say it, but it might be true. If Usopp doesn't get some kind of big plotline or memorable moments here, I might just have to completely give up on his character. Because you see, Usopp over the span of Wano has become the certified worst Straw Hat. He didn't have any noteworthy moments in the 140 chapter arc, and the stuff that he has done has been absolutely horrible. Like for example, Usopp giving the fraud oil to Toko, and then we get to see that heartbreaking scene of her dying father. She's frantically hoping this scam oil could save him, and it's just like, come on Usopp, man, this dude is just a massive L. Like seriously, this is when my disgust for Usopp began, but it reached an all-time high at the end of Wano, when Usopp reminded us how much of a coward he is, and dare I say, the only Straw Hat who is a legitimate bad friend, and regress instead of progressing from a character writing standpoint. The reason I say this is because when Luffy tells his crew his dream, sure, some are shocked, but Usopp goes out of his way multiple times to trash on Luffy's dream and tell him stuff like, you'll never be able to accomplish that dream, you can't do it. I mean, Usopp's just straight up being a horrible friend in this scene, and it'd be one thing if it was just some random thing that Luffy wanted to do, but it's his biggest dream and ambition ever. And so ever since then, I've just been done with Usopp, but I do have faith and hope that instead of constantly reverting to a coward, Usopp can finally become the brave warrior that he dreams of being through some heavy character growth in Elbaf. Usopp will befriend Loki, and this is one way that Usopp could have a big redemption arc. Ever since Whole Cake Island, we've heard of this mysterious Prince Loki figure. You see, according to the Nordic mythology, Loki is known for being conniving, a trickster, a god representing mischief, and we all know that Luffy and Usopp are jokesters. Usopp's a liar and a trickster, he could be a massive troll. And so I think it'd be really cool if we see Usopp and Loki become friends, and Usopp tells him his grand fables, similar to how with Kaya in Sierra Village. And speaking of Usopp befriending Loki, another way I think it could happen is if Usopp trolls the Elbaf warriors in the greatest way possible, which leads us to our next prediction. Usopp will pick up Thor's hammer. Thor's hammer is a very famous Nordic weapon called MJOLNIR, which would go along with the Elbaf Viking vibes. And if you don't know, its lore is that it's a hammer that only Thor can wield and lift. Years ago, I received a comment saying that Usopp will pick up Thor's hammer. Now this can go two ways, in a funny, deceiving, and troll way where Usopp convinces everyone that he's picking up the actual Thor hammer, while it's actually just a false replica. And Usopp is someone who the Giants have always shown love to, like in Enies Lobby where he befriended the Giants, or in Dressrosa with Hajrudin lifting him up and calling him God Usopp. But with Usopp being known as this godly figure, it'd be just so funny to see people believe that he actually is Thor. We know Loki is already a prophetic figure in Elbaf, so maybe they'd say the same thing for Usopp. Plus, there's already foreshadowing to all of this with Usopp doing this 10,000 pound hammer gag in Alabasta, and he's done it multiple other times as well. So why not again in the most perfect scenario? I just think it's so funny if Luffy, Kid, and the Giants are trying to lift Thor's hammer, and then they all fail, but then Usopp just walks in and lifts it with ease. But the most important thing that I want for Usopp's character above all else is to get a training arc with his father Yasopp. It's been so long since we've been waiting to see these two finally meet. And like I said earlier, maybe Yasopp just gives him a beating, and then I think the perfect father and son moment would be Yasopp teaching Usopp how to really be a great sniper. Because at this moment, sure, Usopp is good, but he's not great. I'ma just keep it a stack. Usopp stands absolutely no chance against someone like Yasopp or Van Augur, who has now a teleportation devil fruit. Van Augur is just much more skilled, precise, and dangerous as a sniper who isn't even using plants and zombie pea shooters. So maybe Yasopp passes down one of his weapons to Usopp. But more importantly, I want to see Yasopp train Usopp to finally get a very needed observation hockey training. We know Usopp has the potential, as we saw in Dressrosa, but Usopp needs what Rayleigh did for Luffy, and what better than his own father who he hasn't seen in years. Yasopp could make Usopp the true sniper king, because I also think it'd be a really hype moment for Usopp to unlock Future Sight in Elbaf. And it's kind of crazy because out of everything I want on this list, this training arc is what I want the most out of Elbaf. Because like we said earlier, Usopp should be ashamed of his contribution in Wano, and we're heading into the final war now. The Marizua invasion arc, the Blackbeard pirates. Usopp needs this so he can finally shine in the final saga instead of running around like a chicken with his head cut off. If you enjoyed the video or anything I said, make sure to leave a like and let me know your predictions for Elbaf in the comments. If you are interested in hearing more of our predictions and theories, check out the best theory video on our channel, which explains why we believe that Oars is Joyboy.